Hi, I am Vitold, and after spending some time with this new Suzuki GSX-S1000GX, I'm going to tell you all about its pros and cons. So what is awesome and what's crappy in it. Keep in mind that we are all different riders with different preferences, so you may see some things differently than me myself. What I've done, however, is I've ridden all large and mid-size adventure motorcycles to gain a pretty much full perspective and know how good or bad all of those motorcycles are. Based on this, I'll guide you through what you may like and dislike in the GX. Let's start off with the pros. So the first pro is that if you are wondering whether this is a comfortable bike to sit on, you should like that there is a rather upright body position on it. I'm 1.83 meters tall or 6 feet tall, and my upper body feels very nice on this Suzuki. The seat is also comfortable, while it's not adjustable in terms of height. Well, I do like the overall experience in this GX, and I do consider it a plus. The second pro is strong. There is equally strong engine performance in mid and upper RPM range. It pulls hard and with confidence while staying smooth and under control in terms of power delivery. It is really impressive, guys. Now, if you add an awesome, and I mean really awesome quick shifter and very well working transmission in general, you will see how good of a combination it is, and respect to Suzuki for achieving that. It is a very nice engine here. The third thing is a sort of a combination of some others, but the final impression is something that I really care to express separately. What I have in mind is that this bike is super encouraging to ride like crazy. It is very responsive, direct and stimulating, which means that you feel a lot of control over it and allows you, for example, to change directions quickly and in a way that you like to do. It is also about the suspension, about the position and how its weight is managed, which is pretty good too. And what I'm saying is that it may be a very fun to ride motorcycle for many of you guys, and I believe that it is a super important thing and a really big thing if a bike gives us that. It makes me really want to ride it, and so to buy it. The fourth thing on the list is the comfortable electronically adjustable suspension that is sometimes almost Rolls-Royce-like. I admire that, and it's very much unexpected on a bike that looks pretty much like a sports bike. That's impressive. Now, mentioning Rolls-Royce, I'm sitting on an electric 7G11 office chair from Power Seats, while you may get yourself even a Rolls-Royce Phantom office chair from them, with also fully electric adjustment. It is super cool. It is super comfortable. Check them out at powerseats.eu. Then we've got a nice ride-by-wire throttle that helps you keep the bike under control and obviously rev it nicely whenever you feel like. Now get yourself an aftermarket exhaust and have fun with this bike. Now let me mention that the GX is a seriously well-balanced motorbike in terms of handling. So when you turn, you feel very well what is going on with it and how to continue to keep it pointed where you want it. Nothing is perfect, but this bike is really mostly fine in this area, so let's appreciate it. Also, it's got that sporty feeling without some of the disadvantages of sports bikes. I really do actually like that. I wasn't even aware that I would like that, but I do. Somewhere in there along with it is the feeling of the bike being overall pretty light, easy to manage, and also quite compact when sitting on it. In this kind of a crossover bike, I do like it. I'm not expecting a massive cruise ship, but a flickable, comfortable and quick fun bike, which this is exactly. Now, I mean, wow, this is pretty impressive and nice again. Now, in the last 8 point of pros, it's overall a unique proposition that is different enough from its main competitor, so BMW S1000XR, and to me it has a different character of a hooligan and a more kind of a good buddy to have great fun with while being good friends at the same time. GX is close to you and takes care of you, while BMW, well, check it out in my head-to-head comparison of this Suzuki and BMW that I've linked in the description of this video. Now, alright, let's move to what is not so awesome about the GX. There are a few points that need to be addressed so that you guys know what to pay extra attention to in order to determine if you can live with these things, issues or characteristics. The first thing is the knee angle. Here you may notice the sports bike heritage and all that influence. The foot pegs are rather high, which pushes your knees higher, and well, that's not perfect, especially for longer rides. It shouldn't bother you too much during a short city ride, but a 1000 kilometer trip may require taking a look at a taller seat in order to counter that. If you get a taller seat, then remember that at the same time the windscreen will not be doing as good of a job anymore, so bear in mind that this aspect may need some steps too, like replacing the windscreen with something taller. Talking of windscreen, the second issue may be the lack of some equipment options. For example, the competitor again, BMW S1000XR, may have on an option list. Properly adjustable windscreen is one of those issues, as in Suzuki you'd have to use tools in order to install the windscreen in a different position, and you cannot just do it on the fly while riding. Obviously, I don't like that. It's an expensive motorcycle and it's really not a big deal nowadays to develop a solution that would allow you to change the windscreen whenever you want to. Most manufacturers do have it, but not here. Just as you cannot have keyless ignition and fuel cap or even tire pressure monitoring system, which is the last one. Not having it is a real bloody shame. The third con is that the engine isn't the most snappy or explosive at the lower RPM. This is not a surprise since it's a 4-cylinder engine and they all usually aren't the power and torque masters at low RPM. This one is the same, but thanks to reasonable, in my opinion, gearing, it's fairly good, it's fairly okay, especially in comparison to some others. Anyway, in the end of the day, we mostly care about what we're dealing with and not how it looks in comparison. Therefore, this will be something to consider, I feel. If you care about low RPM power and torque, 2- and 3-cylinder engines may usually be giving you more. Look at the KTM. In the fourth point, I would like to mention vibration, which appears at the highest RPM on the other hand. When accelerating hard and reaching the top RPM, there's a bit of a wobble present there as well, which I also do not like. Now, surprising fact is the same kind of wobble likes to happen on a BMW XR. Interesting. So the mirrors and the foot pegs do get very vibey on a Suzuki. Nothing terrible, like terrible, but it's all there and it's clear, I would say. Now, the fifth disadvantage is annoying traction control settings that are either too liberal at setting number 1, or they do limit the bike too much in setting number 2, not letting it accelerate properly. This is a bigger of a deal, as you will most likely need to compromise either performance or some safety and control. The most liberal settings on number 1 lets the tires slip a bit too much for my liking, while the next one, and mind you, the next one out of 7, so number 2, limits the power still too much in normal riding conditions. I mentioned my full review of this bike that you may watch in a link in the description of this video, that a setting of 1.5 would be perfect. But guess what? There is no such setting, so you need to choose. I hope it works out for you, but I also hope that Suzuki fixes that, and I feel that making the setting number 2 more aggressive while preventing any slips would be the best way to go. Let's see, but for now, test it and see if you can accept it. Con number 6 is what I would call weird brakes, especially the front one. It just feels not controllable somehow, not controllable enough, and not giving as much feedback as I would like it to. There's nothing specifically wrong, but it's just a bit strange, while I wish it was more direct and just calibrated better. It's not a big deal though, so you may just as well skip it completely and forget. Just don't think that there is necessarily something wrong with you, as it's just the bike. And the last, final, 7th con is that the quality of switches on the handlebar doesn't seem to be the best. It is a Suzuki, I know, it is their style again, so nothing necessarily bad or flawed, but just the way it is, and I'm not a big fan of that. We see these things often and we use them, so having good quality there may be projected onto the whole bike, and because of these materials, shapes, and how they feel all together, it's not the perfect impression. But again, it may not be the most important thing, and it's still subjective. Overall, I highly recommend that you guys go and test the GX if it's of any interest to you, in any way I mean. It's a very good proposition. It is a very interesting thing for certain types of riders. I believe it may be so much fun. I hope also that you found these all points interesting, and I do recommend that you check my full review of this bike, which I linked in the description. It's full of details and more in-depth stuff. Now here I would like you to let me know what you think about this bike, whether you've test ridden it or not. Tell me what some other cons and pros are to you, whether you agree or not, and see you over there.